What is going on, guys? Judo Sloth here, and welcome to today's Clash of Clans video. We are going to be attacking in Legends League with two of my favourite armies. The Queen Charge into Hog Riders, and then the Queen Charge into Miners. Two similar strategies, but with subtle differences, and one is better against certain bases, and obviously the other one can work against other base layouts as well. I will be sure to educate you throughout this video as to when you might use Hog Riders and when you might use Miners. In Legends League, that's not really going to help you out too much, since you have to have the army ready before you see the base. But in war attacks, it might help you out if you can identify a base where you might get really good value from a Queen Charge, and then you can decide, is Hog Riders better or are Miners better? For the final attack of the video, I'm going to merge these together. I'm going to use the Queen Charge into Hog Riders and Miners. Now, I've tried it before. It does actually work. It's very fun, and you will want to see that at the end of this video. Let me know in the comments as well if you have ever tried to merge two armies together. That kind of sounds like a fun video as well. Be sure to leave a like if you think that is a good video idea. Now, you might be able to see that the backdrop, it's a little bit different. We are in London right now. I can't tell you why we are here, but subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and in the coming weeks you will be able to see it. It's going to be awesome, guys. So in terms of our Town Hall 12 base, again, we've got nothing to upgrade other than the walls, which you guys will be happy about. I'm personally quite happy about the loot in Legends League. I think that because you don't lose any loot, it's quite easy to save up for what you need. We do have a couple of other troops going in the background, but they're like the lowest of the pecking order for me. That's why I'm upgrading them last, because I barely use them, so that's why I'm not going to use my Book of Fighting or anything like that, because I don't really use these troops. I don't need them very quickly, guys, so that's why we're not using them. But we are continuing to upgrade the walls, not in this episode, but I just wanted to give you an update on where we are at in terms of our progress. So starting off with the Queen Charge Hog Riders, you've seen me use this. I tend to use a P.E.K.K.A. and the King in order to set up the funnel either side for the Queen to get into the base. Now, the reason for that is you don't have to set up a funnel for the Hog Riders on the other side of the base, because they're defense targeting troops, whereas the Miners, which target everything, you need to. So I tend to use the King on the other side of the base. You will see that when we use the Miners. But let's get into the first one here, the Hog Rider attack. I will be sure to just pick the best attacks of each strategy, but let's go, guys. So single target Infernos is not ideal for a Queen Charge, but that's the reason I have the freeze spells. I'm immediately thinking we charge into this area because there's enough buildings there to draw our Queen in. We have the enemy Queen, we have the CC troops, and we have the Eagle, but also it creates pathing for us then to bring our Hog Riders into that most northern area. It's just how we decide to use the P.E.K.K.A. and the King. So I'm actually thinking of putting the P.E.K.K.A. on the cannon there alongside like two wizards, just to ensure we get that archer tower as well. Then we'll use the King here, wizard, and then I'll just wait a second, and the Queen will then be used over to this area around about here alongside the wrecker in a second, just waiting, just being a little bit patient, because it is going to draw the fire of the single target Inferno. It actually didn't. The King and his barbarians did, which is awesome, but in goes the Queen into the base. We've used the healers. The wrecker is coming through. Let's use the free spell onto the Queen and the single, because we want the wrecker to get through the base here. So the wrecker's continuing to come through. I'm actually going to use another freeze, because the Queen, is she going to be all right? She's not. We're going to have to press the ability. I thought the Queen was going to be fine on the single, so I used the freeze for the wrecker, and now the single's onto my Queen again. Wow, that was not great, and the wrecker didn't even get through that wall, so actually it didn't help us out at all. We need to hope that the Queen busts the wall here, which I'm not actually sure whether she will. Is she going to do it? Yes, she is. That will give her access to the Eagle artillery. Now, in terms of percentage wise, we could get a minion here in order to start the percentage, because we need to ensure that we're at that 50% by the time we get the Hog Riders to the town hall, which we should be. So let's get them in at the top here, alongside the warden coming forward. We are going to need a heal in this gap here. Oh no, the queen is locked on by the single, so she's going to go down. That's going to spell disaster. I'm not actually sure that we could get this done. Let's use a poison to take down them skellies as we move through. Couple of wizards to create the 50%. By the time we get around here, we need to save another heal for the back end of the base here. Let's use the Grand Warden's ability. Hopefully that helps the Hogs through the Giga Tesla. Come on, they need to get that down quick enough. They need to get through it. Let's use the heal. That was perfect timing, and they missed a couple of defenses because the queen went down as well, guys. I'm not actually sure that we're going to get this. Let's just see. It's going to be close. It is going to be close. But basically, with the Hog Riders, you saw that we didn't have to create the funnel on either side of the base. We could just bring the Hog Riders in, whereas with miners, you've got to create the funnel. I'm actually going to just put some of the troops in here because the Hogs aren't going to get this done. Could have potentially saved onto that poison initially that we used for the skelly traps, but the queen going down to the single was the main thing there. If the queen didn't get locked onto by the single, she'd have moved down to the bottom, and we would have 3-starred this, guys, without a doubt. So a little bit unfortunate there, I guess, but that's how it works. You don't always get the 3 stars. I don't want to come across here like if you start using these strategies, you're going to blitz it and everyone always gets a 3-star. They don't. You just see the best of the best here on YouTube, but 80% is the 2 stars that we get for that one. So again, the Hog Riders, we didn't have to create the funnel there. So we didn't have to commit any troops. You just have to use cleanup. When you might not want to use the Hog Riders, when you might want to use miners more than that, is if there's a lot of buildings on the outside, a lot of defenses that it's hard to create the funnel. Sorry, you might not want to use the miners. Whereas if you can just put your king and he walks right the way down the side of the base, the miners might be better because you've got that funnel. Hog Riders, you can surgically bring them in, whereas you can't necessarily do that. So if it's hard to create the funnel on the other side for the miners, you might opt for the Hog Riders. Let's move across to the miner attack so that you can see the difference. Okay guys, we are trained up, ready to go with the miners. Like I said with the Hog Riders, their advantage is that you do not have to commit the funnel. You can save troops because with the miners, you've got to create the funnel on the other side for them to go through the base, since they target everything. So you can save on troops, you can take more hogs. However, the benefit of the miners is that, let's say you can't take out the king or the queen with that initial push, the miners will fight back. They will take them down. They don't necessarily take a huge amount of damage, they'll just fight back, whereas the Hog Riders will run past them. They take a huge amount of damage. Think about the Giga Tesla as well. The Hog Riders, you've got to use the Grand Warden's ability through it. Miners will duck underneath it, whereas you also need to activate it for the Hog Riders. Miners, they target anything, they will go straight for it, and that's where the combination of them both can work quite nicely. Hog Riders get across, take the defenses easier. Miners clean up behind, they help to push the percentage as high as possible, and they can fight back with the heroes. But let's show you the miner attack first before we get into the next one, and I've kind of kept the composition roughly the same. 15 miners, 18 Hog Riders. I have tried to maximize on the miners and hogs, so I'm going with my entry like I do with the miners, just a smaller entry for the queen charge. So let's see what we've got here then. It's an interesting looking base. You can see 2 singles at the top. We could charge this area easy enough. The thing with the miners is you need to have the eagle down. Let's just put it that way. The wall wrecker could get through this area a little bit better, I would say. There's a lot of expos there, and we only have 2 rage spells for the queen, so we've got to make sure we can get through that easy enough. Can we create the funnel as well is the other question. We should be able to create the funnel okay here. Yeah, I think we're going to go for the bottom, and I'm going to start off, guys, because with the miners, you can easily run out of time as well. So let's start, once we've got that funnel created, which we do now. Queen, We can then go with the wall wrecker. Once the queen takes a little bit of damage, I kind of want the wall wrecker to get through the base here. So there's the healers. There is the wall wrecker coming through. We might have to commit a rage early on for the queen there. There we go with the rage. She should be good now. We do have the clan castle troops coming out. Wall wrecker needs to get through the base here to allow us in. Queen is taking a lot of damage, but the wall wrecker should get us through. And then we've got a little bit of tankage there as well. Queen is going to get popped by the ice golem. We're not going to get through that next wall. The P.E.K.K.A. might just get it, guys. Let's just see. They're taking a lot of damage. We've got to put the next rage in for the queen. We knew we were going to be taking a lot of damage here. I'm not quite sure how much we're going to get. Let's start with the king on that side so we can start the funnel there. Queen is going to walk back out, guys. So our funnel that we wanted is not quite going to be made here. I'm not sure what's going to happen towards the back end of the attack. I'm really not. But let's start the miners now, because we need to get them in to try and protect the queen from the single target inferno if we can. Let's get a heal spell in, because miners are going to be taking damage from the eagle, but they do protect the queen at this point. Let's use the king's ability to try and get him through the wall. Eagle again firing on the miners with the bomb tower. So using that spell, Grand Warden's ability still intact, waiting at this point because the queen can be used for the town hall. Not too bad. Let's use another heal at the top there, because the miners are taking a lot of damage. We are going to get the town hall, but I'm waiting onto the Grand Warden's ability for the miners, but he's nowhere near the miners. Let's use it now. There we go, guys. That was okay. That was okay. Then as the miners come through from this area, we can try and use another heal. Queen is on to the single inferno. We need to use that other heal early here, because the miners are going to take major damage. I'm trying to hold on to it as best as possible, but we're not going to get the 3. We've only got 40% left. Let's use that heal spell. 70%. The queen getting into that initial area. Maybe I tried to take a bit much there, guys. What do you guys think in the comments? I probably did. The fact that I didn't really have much tankage for the wrecker. There was like 4 expos there, cannons, archer towers, too much stuff to go in from, but I just felt like the value was there. Gambled a little bit. It didn't pay off, but it is going to be 80%. Hopefully you could see there though how the pathing for the miners was made by the king in order to try and help keep them into the base, but also their value in terms of taking out all of the different buildings. So it's a 79%. However, let's move across to the final attack of this video, which is using the Hog Riders and the miners. Okay guys, we are ready to go with the final attack of the video. I know you guys have been looking forward to this one. The hybrid army, Hog Riders and miners. Again, let me know if you have ever thought about merging any armies together. I'd be very interested in trying some of them. After this one, I will be sure to link you a video where we interviewed Itsu, the #1 player in the world, or the former #1 player in the world, about how he uses the Queen Charge Hog Riders. So you will want to watch that one, but let's give this a shot, guys. I've tried to maximize on the miners and hogs, so I have gone for the smaller Queen Charge, you know, what I tend to do with the miners, and let's hope that it works. Again, in Legends League, you don't see the base, so it's pure luck if you get a base that works for you, but in war you can be a little bit more strategic and obviously pick out the one that you want. Let's go ahead and get into it, guys. It might be okay, this one. Where do we charge in from? Again, the miners can take the town hall, so we don't have to worry about that. We can set the funnel there with the king as well. So why don't we charge into... We don't want to charge into the single. We could either charge... I think we want to charge into this area, because then when we bring the miners in, they can swoop over and kind of merge in with the queen, if that makes sense. So what we want to do here is... that air defense is going to make our funnel a little bit difficult. Definitely a little bit difficult. We want to try and... Right. Why don't we go with the baby dragon, followed by 2 loons here. And then the baby dragon onto the mortar. That's all we need. Just the mortar should be enough to get us in. There we go. Queen. Once she's taken just a little bit of damage, we'll put the wrecker in, because we need to ensure the wrecker gets through. So maybe once she attracts the fire of that cannon. However, we don't want her to walk at the same time. So I might have been a bit slow there. Let's see what happens. The wrecker has to get through this area. She should be okay. Yeah, she's going to go into the base. I'm going to actually use a wizard here just to try and help drive her forward. Hopefully the wizard gets that down. Yes, let's use the poison onto that. Could really do with a wall wrecker getting through that next layer of wall. As it does, all is looking good so far, guys. You need to then commit when to put your king in. So I'm going to put my king in. Let's go with a rage there, followed by the 2 wizards in order to help out. That should create the funnel over that side. Give the king plenty of time to get that funnel going. And we don't really need to concentrate that much over there. We are waiting patiently for the next rage, which is going to be used right now to try and get our queen through. Waiting for that ability as well. Decided to press it. Now let's press the king's ability, and here we go, guys. Let's get the hogs in. Let's get the miners in. As they come forward, we might have to use a heal early on here because there's a lot of damage there, and I mean a lot. We've not really kept any cleanup troops, but let's see what happens. Queen, stay alive. Get that expo, and then move forward. Yes, she's going to just have enough health, I think, if the Grand Warden doesn't get her. Is it? Oh, she's gone down. She has gone down. We could have used the Grand Warden's ability there when the Eagle Artillery fired. That might have been a good chance to use it, but let's use it when the next one comes in right now. And I think we might have lost too many troops in that initial bit. We really needed the queen to stay alive as well to continue around. Let's use the next heal. You can see whereby if the queen had have stayed alive, if she'd have got that eagle and pressed on forward, this would have been a lot more promising, guys. But hopefully you can see that the Hog Riders did a little bit of work initially, and then the miners have been good to kind of continually clean up from there. Let's get that final heal spell in. We are going to fall a little bit short here, guys, but it's been fun to do either way. Could have definitely done with our queen surviving that little bit longer. What could we have changed there to keep the queen up? I'm not too sure. Maybe dropping a couple of miners or Hog Riders, potentially the hogs as I took more of them, and taking an ice golem in front of the queen probably would have been a better option, because if the queen had have got through that area and stayed alive, this is a 3-star look. All day long, the queen would have got through. She would have cleaned these buildings, and she would have got up to that cannon as well. So a little bit unfortunate, but it shows you the power of the hybrid army. Definitely better than using the queen charge hogs and the queen charge miners alone. We topped it off with them both in this one. So I hope you enjoyed this. Just a bit of fun. Showed you a couple of attacks. Would have been nice to get a 3-star, but one guy that can help you get a 3-star is Itsu, and I interviewed him. There is that video. If you want to check that out, guys, you will enjoy it. But until next time, peace out.